Hi, Billy Nick. Just wanted to send an email to thank you so much for making this podcast and being a wonderful resource for all of us developing parents out there like myself. I jumped on board late last year, but kind of wish I'd listened to my sister-in-law who recommended it almost a year ago. This episode of Connection was quite timely. I have 3 kids, 9, 8 and 5, and life certainly is busy. Of the 3, I'm much more likely to have power struggles with the 9-year-old, probably because we are quite similar. He's a deeply feeling kid and sometimes goes from 0 to 100 really quick and can get really emotional. Often, this comes out as anger or frustration and will often just keep at me and at me for ages. On other occasions, it's simply me trying to get him to do something that needs to be done and him resisting the request. I try to stay calm, but often I crack under the intensity and so ensues the yelling tennis match. Looking forward to your answer on this one, Billy, just as a side note. It's always just escalates things for both of us, but once it happens, it's so hard for me to pull back once I've lost it. Initially, I'll be ropeable at the situation, feeling hurt and betrayed, but inevitably, I always end up feeling a huge amount of shame from letting myself and him down by not being able to keep my cool. It doesn't happen every time. Like a lot of things, it depends on a number of factors. I've never really got angry at anything ever before having kids, and the fact that I'm capable of getting this angry when I just never thought it was possible is just really unsettling. However, I do think I'm quite good at repair. I'll always go and apologise to him at the next possible opportunity and try and explain that I'll always love him and that even parents make mistakes and I'm working on it, and that it would be great if we could work together on how we can limit these negative encounters from happening. If it was a horrible preschool meltdown from both of us, I tend to be angry for an hour or so, and then once the regret and shame hits, I'm basically counting down till I pick him up from school and check him and apologise. My wife is also getting pretty triggered by me losing my cool, and this obviously just adds to my guilt. The problem is, no matter how many times I reflect, apologise and repair, eventually it happens again, and at some point or another, I'm just getting tired of feeling this way. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to be a great dad all the time, and probably need simply to not be so hard on myself. I do find I'm able to naturally connect more with the other 2 kids and just need to work a little harder at finding ways to connect with him, I guess. Sometimes I worry that each fight we have, it may slowly be pushing him away each time, even if I repair each time. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one actually, as it does worry me, if I'm honest. After a particularly bad week last week, I got back to the podcast and for some guidance and help and listened to the co-regulation one. Great app, really helpful. I was actually going to email just to reach out for advice, but thought that would be weird and perhaps I'll just wait for an episode and post a question then. And then lo and behold, I'm at the local pool yesterday with my family and I noticed Billy. That coupled with the fact that today's episode is on Connection, it was just pretty wild. I've seen the taglines of the Connection before correction all over my parenting related Insta reels, but this episode really nicely illustrated the importance of it and how to do it. I think I actually do purposefully emotionally connect with my kids in calm moments, but could certainly do this more, and hoping this can put more in the bank. Put more in the bank, I love that, for when I really need the connection and the big feelings start. It can be hard to not get stuck in the trap of getting jobs done around the house when the kids are playing by themselves, but I'm going to try and deliberately connect for the sake of connection. I also definitely flick into logic brain when the power struggle begins, and I really love the message of engaging the emotional side and having the logical side play the supporting role. That's absolute gold. Anyway, I'm ranting now, but it's actually been helpful to type out my feelings. If I had a question, it would be this. What practical things can I do to try and connect and co-regulate when he's or any of the kids are becoming upset over something, but the rate at which he escalates is rapid, that things just get out of hand too quickly. Thanks again. Keep up the great work. Whoa.
What did you think reading that?
Yeah. I was like, was I tired and writing this one night? I don't have 3 kids.
Yeah.
No, I get that one.
Yeah,
you just escalate.
You're
just like, I want my bit.
Act out, power struggle, logic brain, guilt, shame. How do I repair this?
The guilt, shame. We haven't mentioned the word shame in 70 episodes. I don't reckon it's just ever come up, and it's come up twice here around this.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that. I don't do it. I do it.
Why? Why is it coming up when we're talking about connection?
I don't know. It came up before
because it threatens it, doesn't it? It threatens connection. There's probably nothing that threatens connection more than that.
Bit of shame.
Shame, yeah, because we just shut down when we feel shame.
Oh, it's the shutdown.
Yeah. So yeah, we just shut down from the outside world to protect ourselves, to protect everyone else from us. Like, it's an awful feeling. So what's the step? This is going to be bad because I was like, there's a step before co-regulation. It's connection. But what's the step before connecting to the kid?
Assessing the situation?
Yeah, in terms of what?
What's going on for the kid?
What's the step before that?
I don't know.
What's going on for you?
Oh, yeah.
So how do you do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
So you have to connect with yourself, don't you?
Yes, okay.
Connect with how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Where do you do most of that work?
I don't know. What, in the moment? No, before. How do I do that?
So there's lots of different ways, and thinking like that Dad does a beautiful job of reflecting on what's happening, but what he wants to do now is find where's it coming from. Why is he, finding himself so angry? And often it'll be like imprints and schemas that we've built in our childhood. I did this amazing thing with my therapist last week where we did chair work. Do you know what that is?
No.
So I was just talking about like finding things really hard and beating myself up about stuff and all these kind of things. And he's sitting in a chair opposite me, but then he gets another chair and he sits in that and he says, he's like, talk to little Billy. He's like, talk to little Billy about how you think about him and how you feel about him and all this stuff. And then I'd swap seats and I'd talk as little Billy about how I was feeling. The reason he's doing that is because a lot of our coping mechanisms and our reactions, especially the emotional ones, are built in things that happened during our childhood. I overcompensate.
So they're just hardwired to that point.
They're very firmly wired, but they're not permanently wired. You can undo it by recognizing it and connecting with it, connecting in that dad, thinking about, why am I struggling with this so much? Is it because this is how my parents were, or I would never been able to do this to my parents, so I can't believe this kid's doing it to me? Or, anger worked in a way, it got me to be compliant, but it didn't actually connect, and then that shame he'll be feeling probably because he felt as a child, and he's worried that he's just, redoing that cycle of aggression, hostility and authority, and then harming the kid emotionally.
Take those examples where you've just said, because I think they'd be common ones. This anger bit worked, or my parents did it this way. I could never do this to my parents. What do you do with that?
So be aware of it and be aware that, look, this is actually harming me and my kid, the way that I'm responding to this, and I'm emotionally dysregulating because it's dredging this up for me, and deal with that, heal that trauma yourself, whether it's going and seeing someone, it's recognizing it, it's finding the things that can heal that. And, a lot of it is just realizing it's opening that up and going, man, that was so hard for me and I deserved better. I was a little kid, and like the mechanisms that I'm putting in place are no longer serving me. And I've got to find newer ones that is connection and love and understanding. And you're going to hear it at the end of this app. There's some beautiful examples of how to do that. But that's why that question was included, because you have to connect with yourself first. And when we're dysregulating, it's very hard to do. So do a lot of the work in like, how am I going? And that's called reflective practice, but we should do it with ourselves as well. If we're lucky to have a partner, we should do it with them. How are we going in parenting? And that's why this dad is finding it therapeutic just to write it out, because he's reflecting on his journey and wanting to do better and realizing he's beating himself up a bit. But if you can get to the core of the issue of why am I doing this, and it's probably to do with his own childhood and how he was parented, that'll be part of the process of healing it. hard work to do.
Ooh, that's hard
A
stuff.
lot of us haven't got the emotional maturity that we could have, including me, because we just haven't had that natural trajectory of, support, accommodation and skill development.
Yeah, who's got the capacity as well? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but like that's the start. I'm like, yeah, I've got a job and I've got to parent and meals and drop off and pick up, and I want to do exercise occasionally. I like to go out with my mates and
Well, a lot of those things probably help you, but there's few things that are more important than
yeah, agreed. Agreed.
your emotional development. Your
Yeah,
ability to
bad
connect with
cycle.
kids.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
in a
you're gonna
bad
look
cycle.
back, aren't you? What are the things you're
Yeah.
going to look back on
Yep.
in your final days? If you look back, it's going to be like enjoying your kids.
Yep. I hear that. Yep.
Yeah. So that's a real big priority for all of us, including me. I'm the same. I'm like, kids are playing well. I'm like, sweet, I'm going to get this house clean. I'm going to
Shit,
do
yeah.
this. And then Evie will be like, come play with us. And I have this hesitation.
Totally.
I'm like, I got to clean. You guys are okay on your own, but I actually need to make sure that I go stuff the house and I just get down and play with them and be led by them. This podcast is brought to you by Guiding Growing Minds, a social enterprise that aims to give all children the best opportunity to reach their potential and succeed in living rich and meaningful lives.